Hello again and welcome to Walter Doodles Art. Today I'm going to be doing some more ink and watercolor painting, and this will be with sumi ink and Chinese watercolor. It's going to be a wet on wet technique, which I'm kind of excited to show you about, and as such it is going to be using a lot of paper towels and a lot of little strokes that I try out on a piece of scratch paper in order to make sure I'm controlling what I have in the brush before I set it to my watercolor paper. Now, I'm still learning this video stuff, so I appreciate it when you come by. If you would give me a like and give me a share. Subscribe to my page, hit the bell. I really would appreciate it. It'll be both on Rumble and on YouTube, and I just really am so glad that you're here. I'm looking forward to this. One of the things I'd love to hear, I use an old MacBook Pro, and it has a problem. I can't upgrade my OS on it anymore, and most of the video editing programs that are out there require a newer OS than what I am able to do. If anybody knows of a video editing or a movie maker program that will work on an older Mac OS, I sure would appreciate it if you'd leave that in the comments. Anything you'd like to see me do, I would love that in the comments as well. And I look forward to it, and we'll see you on the other side. I'm going to reset some stuff up, quickly go over my supplies. There may be a break here and there in the video because I am using a Canon, and it is a Rebel T6 to record these videos with, and it has a problem. It turns off after 10 minutes or 11 minutes. It may be the file size when it turns off. So I'm going to be setting timers so that if I go longer than that, I can stop what I'm painting on, reset the camera, and start again. That way, the last video I did, there was huge swatches that weren't there because it doesn't beep at me that it stopped recording or anything like that. Again, if you know anything about that and can comment on that, on how to correct that problem, I sure would appreciate it. I really don't want to have to go with my phone to record these because it doesn't connect with my computer very well. I have a couple of movie cameras, but I don't have any HDMI capability with my computer, and that's what they require to just do direct recording here, where I can actually see on the computer screen what's going on. So anything that you guys can let me know how to improve on this stuff, I really would appreciate it. So I'll see you in just a couple minutes. You'll be focused at my art area, and I'm going to go quickly through all the materials that I'm going to be using in order to do this painting. It is going to be of a blue heron standing in water with some tules, kind of a traditional Chinese subject matter. I like working in that when I'm working with ink and brush. So anyway, this will probably be the second to the last video I do in this style of art for a while. I do want to get into some pen and ink real soon, and that's a completely different monster for me. So I will see you in just a minute. Thank you. What I've got here on my supplies, just so you know, most of this stuff can be got at Hobby Lobby, and it's fairly cheap, so it's easy to get a hold of. I've got two sets of brushes. They come in packages of 3. These ones are traditional Chinese brushes. They are made from goat hair, real inexpensive. I think those 3 cost about $2 or $3, and that's not bad. I want to use these inexpensive brushes today just because. I have another set. These ones are made out of horse hair. Now they each have a different purpose. For me, the goat hair really holds a lot of water, but they don't hold a really nice tip, and sometimes I want that tip. So, but then the horsehair is what I'll use once I put the water down with the goat hair brushes. I will put the ink down with the horsehair brushes. I also use them for some of the tules and things like that. What I also have here is I have my palette. Again, this can be got at Hobby Lobby, bought at Hobby Lobby. I've already squirted a couple little colors. One's a dark blue, one's a lighter blue, and then this light green that I'm going to use as well, and a little bit of yellow. I don't know what the names of these colors are. They're in Chinese, but just a little bit of wet watercolor, Chinese watercolor paint in these here. I will go ahead and let you know the number. These are Marie's Chinese watercolor paints. The yellow is number 218. The light green is number 593. The light blue is number 493. And then the dark blue, which I think is phthalo blue, is 451. I'm looking for a chart that will show what those numbers are. Haven't found it yet. The ink I'm using, again, a Hobby Lobby product you can get. It is called Traditional Chinese Ink. It comes in this little container. You take this cap off and you squirt it, tip it over, and then you can put the cap on. It's really hard to make a mess with this unless you try. I've had some ink where you have a squirt, but it's like straight up and it just gets all over the place. This is good ink. I really like how black it is. It's called Ultra Black. Again, from Hobby Lobby, fairly inexpensive. I've already got one of my little cups filled with it. I've got my pen holder here so that I can just lay my wet pens there and they don't drip all over everything. I got my stone seal for my signature, which is the first character of my last name, and I've got the red paste, the crimson paste. This one I also am going to use a bamboo pen on one section. So I need an ink well. That's not deep enough for most of it. You got to get the ink up inside this little groove that's right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's the inside of the bamboo where it's hollow, and that's what kind of holds the ink and lets it drip down to the tip of the thing, and that's what gives you the ink flow. So I have my ink well, something I'm really proud of. I love this ink well. And there's a little story about this. I bought the well itself at one time in a secondhand store here in Wyoming, and that same owner came to me months later and says, I just picked up an a pen stand, and I think it fits that ink well we sold you. And as you can see, they are a match. Absolute perfect set. I don't know how that happens, but I love it. Anyway, so I've got some ink in there. I've got my water. That's for my basic wash. This one, I always like to have 3 waters if possible. This one is to wash out what the first one, the big tub of water, didn't take out. This one I use if I just want pure, clear, crystal clear water. I make sure my brush is nice and clean before I will dip in there because I really don't want it all messed up. I got my phone so I can set timers, and without that this video could stop recording and I wouldn't know. One more brush I have here. It's a fine liner brush. This one is a composite. It has goat hair on the inside, horsehair on the outside. Keeps a really nice fine point when I want it to. So I'm going to be using that one. I'm going to be using this one for my goat hair brush. It's the medium brush. And I'm going to use the medium on my horsehair brush as well. If I use these other brushes, that'll be okay, but I don't know if I will or not. I also have paper towel. That's to control the amount of ink and water I've got. And I've got a piece of paper over to the side so that I can test it out. Once I control the water, I test it out. The most important thing I got is the one thing that you can't get at Hobby Lobby. And that is my cup of coffee. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then we're going to start painting. I'm going to set things up where I like them to be, and then we will get going. We are ready to start painting. As you can see on my palette, I've put some water in that middle thing, the middle cup there, and that's my mixing area for the most part. And then I've also gone ahead and I've put a little bit of ink in there. That's to give it a little bit of a tone. When I do the wet part first, I kind of want to be able to see where I'm going. I may go over it with clear water at a later time, but at this first stage, I want to see where that water is going, and then I can go ahead and put my ink on there, and it works out just better for me that way. I'm going to go ahead and get my goat hair brush, and I'm going to dip it in some of that ink wash. It's a light wash. Dab it a little bit. See what okay, and that is a good color. I like it. It shows up fine, so I'm going to get a little more here. And then I'm going to start with the head of the blue heron. So you start and you just pull it around, and it comes on down about like so. Get a little more water. We're going to work on the shoulder at the back, and it comes on down about like so. And then I just fill that in. Bring a little down for the tail end of it. Next, I'm going to use my horsehair brush. I'm going to dip it into the ink. Dab it just to get rid of any of the excess I don't want. And I'm going to start here at the shoulder. And you'll notice it feathers out a little bit. Bring it on down and just kind of slightly bring it up to the tail. We are going to add some to that. Bring from the neck, and I bring in the edge of the wing, and I bring that on down and include it into the tail. A little more ink, just a touch. Don't want too much there. And I go up, I'm starting about mid head, and just touching the wet part, and then as I come down, I'm getting a little heavier, and I go ahead and just merge all that together. Wash the brush out. I want to get some blue here, so I'm going to get some of the dark blue, the phthalo blue, and I'm going to put a wash right over on top, just right like that. Put a little bit right in here. Wash that out. Get some clear water. I'm going into my light blue now. Just a little bit. Wet that down. And then I'm going to come up here, and this is going to be at the bottom around the neck, and then it gets a little broader, and I bring it to the edge. And that's my blue there. Touch here and there, just to kind of wash over the black areas to give it a little blue sheen. Bring it on down the tails. I want a little bit more of the wash, but I want a touch more ink in that wash than what I had with the original wash. Check my color, that's good. I want it a little darker than what's here, and I bring that on over. If I get it into the blue, doesn't really matter. This whole thing with the wet on wet is things have a tendency to be very fluid as you're going along. And I like that look. Now I'm going to use my pen, dip it into my inkwell. Take off the excess. I want the ink to be a nice, not a big drop at the end of my pen. I want it to be there, but it just barely comes into the hollow that is given because of the bamboo itself. So it's right about here, and the hollow starts just down a little bit. So I have a little bit of ink up inside that hollow. That will feed this. I'm going to put in a beak, like so. It's going to feather up into the head of the bird, of the blue heron, and then right up here I'm going to give it an eye. Now I'm going to be doing something on top of that, so don't worry that the eye is actually outside of the main color area of the head. Go ahead and dip my pen again. I'm going to give it a foot that it is standing on, which is right here. That's the leg, and of course it's standing in water, so we're going to give it just a little bit of an indication of water. It's going to have the other foot lifted up and pointing out the front of it, so it's got a claw right here, and give it that talon, a little curve. Has a second one also, and give it a curve, and then it's got that back one. It's not as big, but the back one actually has a bigger claw, so that one is sticking straight out of the body of the blue heron, just like so. That's what I've got so far. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wash the excess ink off of my blue heron for right now. That's all I want to use that pen for. Go into my wash with my fine liner brush and just do the tip, very tip, barely touch my ink. Now, I'm holding my brush in the two fingers like that. These two fingers, I really don't want too involved in it, but they may support it here. I'm turning it over, and I want that dark area of ink right on the tip of the brush to be on the edge of what I'm going to put here now, and then the rest of it will give a thin wash. So I come up, define that, the head, and bring it down to the neck. I go back into my dark ink. Oh, you know what? I actually want some color in this, so first I'm going to wash it out, and now I'm going to get a little bit of water in one of these wells, go into my blue, the dark, wash my brush, go into the clear water, and pick up the light blue, and pull that in as well. Wash my brush. A touch of pure ink. Just a touch. I'm going to mix that up. It is going to give it an interesting effect here. Right here, I'm going with those feathers that are going to stick out. They're going to be a little lighter, but it's a beautiful bluish gray tone that I am putting on top here. Bring that down just ever so slightly into the head, and one more feather right out there. So now we have got that for my blue heron. Go into that mixture again. I want to give a little bit of indication of the tail feathers that I want blue as well. And there we have our blue heron. I'm going to go into the pure ink, come back into that wash that I just did. It's going to be a little darker, and I want to exaggerate a line here with that for the wing of the blue heron. There is my blue heron, and I am happy with that, not going anywhere further with that. I am going to go back to my horsehair brush. Clean off that brush, get my horsehair and clean it off. Okay, getting pure water going right into the green, and I'm just loading that up with water. Now I'm going to touch the phthalo blue and bring some of that in, and the yellow and bring some of that in. Mix that around. I'm going to test the color, see what I got. In fact, I'm going to do that here where you can see it. That is too green for me. I don't want it quite so green. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull in some of my wash and put that into that green. A little bit more, and then touch the darker ink and see what I come up with. That's the color I'm wanting. This is the green I like. So, gonna use that, mix it up well, dab some of the excess off. We've got our green, and in order to paint the two leaves, what I want to do is I want to hold it again like I was doing before, but instead of holding it like this or along these lines or any of that, I'm holding it so that it is straight up and down with the paper. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to push into the paper and start making a stroke. As I get to the end of the stroke, I'm going to let up. The brush itself is going to pull a bend into it, and it'll keep that bend. And that's something you want. As I get to the end of the stroke and I want that tip on the tule, the leaves of the tule to be nice and sharp, I will rotate in the direction of the curve of the brush. Let me show you that curve I'm talking about. You see how it curved it? When I push down, it curves. And it'll hold that curve fairly well. And that's what you want. So, get a little bit of my color. I actually want that a little lighter. That's a little bit too intense. So I'm going to pull some of that into some clear water and see what I got. That's not quite enough. Now, this is why you always have a piece of paper and you test it out. See what your color is before you put it to this. Because if it's too dark, you've destroyed what you were going for. So I'm going to start, I press down, and then I start pulling it up, and I just start, and then as I pull, lift the brush up, I rotate it with the curve. So you see that curve? It's rotating with the curve, rotating with the curve. Going to do another one, and it'll go, and it'll come up, and I rotate it, and you get that point at the end of the tule leaf. Do another one. This one's going to go behind my heron, so I'm going to bring it in, get it close to my heron. I want to pull the excess water down though. There we go. It's going to come out here, so I'm going to designate where I want it to be, and I push into it, and I pull that, and I make it come to that point. So I'm going to do just a few more of those. Here's one. Pull the excess water down. I don't want it right next to. In fact, I want to take some of that water off. So what you do, if you get more water on there than what you want, pat your brush dryer on your paper, your paper towel, and then touch where there's too much water, and it'll pull that out of the paper. You're never going to get it white again, but that's okay. Load my brush again. This one's going to come out, say, over here. And it'll curve up and then around the other way. I'm going to put one more of these type of leaves in there, and this one's just going to come up, disappear behind the tail, and bring it on around, and it'll come up, and there's that. Now, I'm going to take a little bit more blue, just a touch, put it in there. This is going to darken it some, and I want to put a little more black in there. So I want this to be kind of dark green. It needs a little more blue. Let's see. There we go. That's the color I'm looking for. Now I'm going to pull lines, thin lines. So I'm going to hold my brush straight up and down. I'm really not going to press into the page. I just want a line. This is going to be those pods on top of the cattails, on top of the tules. And they start inside. They don't start below where the leaves of the tulies are. They're going to be tucked in a way behind them. So I keep my line a nice straight and thin line. I mean, it can curve, but there's one. Next one, I'm going to put in, I think, let's put in 3 of these. I'll have another one coming up here. It's going to come behind and poke out right in this area a little bit more. There we go, I like that. And we're going to put one more on the side here. He's going to be, you won't see where he begins. He's behind the blue heron, and he's just going to come up that way. The next part, go ahead and load your brush up again with the watercolor, that dark green, and you just one side and pull it in. Curve it around, one side, the other side, and try to do the mirror image of what you just put in there. So we come one side, pull it in, and then we come and try to do the other side and pull that in. Last one. And pull it in, and then the other side and pull it in. Simple strokes, and there we have a blue heron. Now, to name it and sign it, I like this little brush. I just love the point that it keeps. So this is just pure ink. Okay. So the B, I sign in Alien script and name things in Alien script. I think I want to do it over here. So it's a B in Alien script. That is a B. And then an L. An L almost looks like an L. There's my L. The U is very similar. Then my E. Okay, Heron, H. Look up Alien script online. It's really, I like it. It's so interesting. And in these Chinese paintings, I don't paint traditional Chinese. I'm doing my own take on traditional Chinese. So that's where I'm at on that. An E. But I like the look of this Alien script whenever I do ink of anything. R. Oh, let me see. What is the R? Everything. R. That's right. I don't have my chart with me, so I kind of have to go through it in my mind. H-E-R-O. O. O. I remember what O is. That's like this. And then the N. That's the N. And then I'm going to sign my name. I'm going to do that down here. And it's going this way because I'm writing backwards like Chinese does. Let's put it up here. That will be a W. to spell the other things sometimes. I'm actually going to do things a little different. An A, W, A, an L, the T, an E, and the R. In alien script, this says Blue Heron, Walter. Love the look. Last step, clean my brushes. I wanted to do one more thing here. I want to get a good thin blue wash. There we are. And just give it the water. Now I'm ready for the very last step. My stamp signature. Let me see, where do I want that? Right here. Place it down, press it good. In case you didn't see my last video, when you use a stone to stamp your artwork, have a little pad of newspaper or some kind of a softer pad, hardwood table like that. It's hard to make that show up. And there we are. Blue Heron. Like the video if you did. Subscribe if you would. That always helps me. Leave a comment. I covet your comments. Let me know what you think of these projects that I do. And I hope to see you again real soon. Thank you for watching. God bless you, and I love you. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way. It may be a little later when this comes online, but I did it on Valentine's Day. God bless. Love you. One last thing. This is for you, Connie. I love you. There, now we can get it without the glare. Happy Valentine's Day. I love you.